You want to go from zero to fluent in a language and have tried everything? Well, what if we can create mountainous results but with atomic habits? Who's to say I'm even qualified to talk about this? Well, I've gone through the process of learning a language from scratch to the point of being able to understand it quite a few times now. And I have to do the same thing again to learn German for my studies abroad. So it's safe to say I am roughly aware of the journey and the pitfalls that you may fall through and how that book personally helped me make the process a lot easier. But I'll show you how to apply the book into your actual studies, all the principles and little details behind it. But I don't think you should worry too much about it because, as the book states, that so long as you're putting the effort every day and getting even just 1% better, then you're already doing pretty great and you're bound to get to where you want either sooner or later. Each time that you sit down to study, each minute of the show that you're watching just puts one more vote into the personality that you're trying to create of a language learner. Creative, adaptive, able to understand different lens of languages. But to make sure that we're doing it really correct, then we need to follow the framework laid out in the book in 4 steps, which are cue, craving, reward, and response. Cue is when your senses are in tune to the stimulus or the trigger that would then make your habit begin. Craving is a desire or motivation for what will that thing bring you, what kind of desire will it fulfill. Response is the actual behavior or action that you're taking in order to reach number 4, which is the reward, which is the entire point of the habit. It's why you have it in the first place. It satisfies your craving, but also teaches you what habits, what actions are worth remembering. Because if you didn't get the reward, then you wouldn't do the habit in the first place. Let's give an example before we go on, since this is all very vague and soupy. Is that a word? I'm making it a word. Soupy. Webster, I'm calling you out. So let's use the most common thing that we have in our lives as an example. Our phones. The cue would be the notification noise that you get. The craving would be wanting to know what message was sent to you. Response would be you actually picking up your phone in order to check it. And reward is finally getting the satisfaction of seeing what secret message was sent to you. But now, since that we know the habits and what they are composed of, we can obviously apply it to language learning as well, because it is a habit at the end of the day. And since those 4 components are what we need to make a habit, it goes without saying that we need to make them as obvious as possible, as attractive as possible, as effortless as possible, and as rewarding/satisfying as possible. Starting with the first part, the cue. How to make it as obvious as possible a part of our environment so that we don't get sidetracked or forget about learning X language for days or weeks. For simplicity, I'm going to assume that you're learning the language through video content, but all of what I'm saying applies to literally every other medium too. Well, you can hang up a poster of that show that you're watching so that your eyes always pass by it and remind you, oh, I haven't watched it today. Always have it on an open window on your computer. Hang up a poster of the destination country that you may have been inspired to learn the language for, or saving it as your wallpaper. Your phone lock screen as your favorite dish that you ever tasted that pertained to that culture. A podcast always running in the background so it can be at the back of your mind, never really out of mind. So long as you design language learning as a part of your environment in its cues, in its triggers that should make you begin to start or to get on with it for the day, then you'll be in a very good place. And obviously, the more important learning X language is for you, the bigger part of your environment it should take up. But just having it around is not exactly enough. We need to make it a bit more concrete, which is why we're using something referenced in the book called implementation intentions, where you're basically picking a time of the day where you're going to sit down and study X language even if it kills you. Well, not exactly be healthy. But you're going to pick that time of day and sit down, because when 2 p.m. comes around, you're going to feel just a tiny bit of pressure to push yourself and actually do what you said. And or you can also attach it to an already existing habit, like brushing your teeth, having breakfast, taking a shower, where just as soon as you're done with one, you're starting the next, which is also called habit stacking in the book. This works because you're not starting something completely new from scratch, but you're already building an already solid foundation of something that you've done for years. But now that we've made it as obvious as possible, we need to make it as attractive as possible. The craving, of course. I think we have a few tools for that, of course. Let me check. Yep, we do. Where he referenced something he called temptation bundling, where you're gonna gatekeep something that you wanna do with something that you have to do. Wanna eat that ice cream cone that's been staring you in the face for the last 24 hours? Nope, I gotta sit down for 20 minutes and read that page of the book. That new Jujutsu Kaisen episode is looking real good right about now? Nope, you still have that podcast to watch first. But if you need a little bit of a push past that, then why not make it into an event? Some people call it the Showtime effect, priming. Here he calls it a motivation ritual. Nope, not that kind. A popular psychological axiom is neurons that fire together wire together. So if two events happen together in close proximity or in very consequent succession, then they are likely to trigger one another, both emotionally and psychologically. So for example, if every time before you work then you're used to putting on your headphones, then just putting on your headphones will make you feel more focused, more alert. If every time you pet a dog you smile, then just smiling will make you think of petting dogs, and so on and on. So do your own little Showtime preparation. I'm sure it's a nice little boost. So now it's obvious, attractive, now we need to make it effortless. How do we do that? Well, the simplest way of it is to really just focus on building the habit. Don't focus on running the marathon, focus on running the first 10 steps. Don't think about finishing the metamorphosis, more think about finishing Hansel and Gretel. The purpose of it is to just boil it down into a short 2-minute routine. So instead of trying to make it a goal of reading the entire novel or book, you're just focused on reading one sentence of it and understanding the meanings of the words. Instead of setting a 50-minute episode as the goal, you're setting the first 30 seconds of it as a goal, whether there is dialogue in it or not. You can't build a habit while simultaneously trying to expand it. It just doesn't work. The goal isn't result, it's to make the barrier of entry so ridiculously low that you don't think twice about it. Once it's an automatic habit, you can upgrade the routine by adding just a couple more minutes to it, or trying to explore a more complex range of topics and ideas, because those of course will have more complex vocabulary. When I started learning German, I started by watching just 2 minutes of Dark, the time traveling show. Sure, it's a laughable amount of time. Sometimes it only took me 1 minute because I was just 2xing it to see if they were gonna say anything. And other times it was a full-on monologue that took me 30-40 minutes just to get through a dozen sentences or so. But now I'm at a point where I can just watch half an episode and be completely immersed in the story, which is just an amazing amount of progress for me personally. Plus, you can make use of something that I didn't at the time. German learning subreddits, friends, Discord servers, or also known as the close and the many in the book. Backing it up with ideas about how in studies, partners who had an obese partner were 50% more likely to become so, but also alternatively on the other side, the many because we are social animals and we want to fit into whatever the pack or the mob or the group is doing. If an action is universally practiced by a group, the mob effect of it will make you do it as well and even like it. But that can also be something helpful that you can use to lubricate your habits into being a bit easier. And if all else fails, then you can just blacklist literally every single website aside of the dictionary with a nuclear extension like Stay Focused. And lastly, we need to make it satisfying in the reward. There was this really interesting story in the book in how a humanitarian group went to Karachi in Pakistan in the 90s. because there was a massive epidemic of disease there, only for them when they landed to be shocked because everyone knew the importance of washing your hands. But for some reason, no one did it. Can you expect the reason why they didn't actually do it? One word. Suds. Yep, soap suds. Now I know how that sounds absolutely insane to you, but I want to let you know that you are no better. When you brush your teeth, you want your toothpaste to taste like mint, don't you? Because it feels clean, it feels satisfying, it makes sense and feels right to you. And because it is satisfying to you, it helps to reinforce your habit of doing it again and again and again. And so we need to implement the same systems here, and the most satisfying thing in the world is progress. And so if we can systemize progress, then we can supercharge any habit into near certainty. One of the best ways for that is using a habit tracker, be it on a notepad and a paper, or on a whiteboard like the one that you can't actually see it. One sec. Because nothing feels better than getting the sweet high of crossing a task off your habit tracker. Or you can also do something else called the paperclip method, where you're trying to break down the habit into the smallest measurable pieces of progress that you can then count up until you reach the goal. For example, I have this little strap that I attach to my thumb whenever I'm watching a show, where every minute I can just tap on it one after another and see the progress of the minutes literally passing through with time. Every passing minute of the show that I watch motivates me just a bit more to get to the finish line of it. And you need to just scale it down to wherever you are currently. So if you're starting off with 2 minutes like we said earlier, then you can just break it down into 12 parts, 10 seconds each of them. And every 10 seconds of the show passing, you can press on it once, seeing yourself get closer and closer to the finish line. And if that isn't enough for you, then you can reward yourself with some ice cream at the end. P.S. The reward shouldn't conflict with your long-term goal. So if you're trying to lose weight, don't reward yourself with ice cream, but reward yourself with a massage or something that will motivate you towards a healthier body. Although ice cream is pretty good, I can't lie. But that's all we have for today. I wanted to mix and combine niches a bit for this one. Who knows, maybe this is what my channel will be based on in the future. If you enjoyed all the time, effort, editing that went into this video, please subscribe. I'll make lots more in the future, hopefully. And if you need an editor on your team, then you can send me an email from it right down at the description or from my portfolio website. On a side note, you can also check out my lot pack if you're interested in that, but that's all that I have for now. Don't forget to smile, it'll make you feel a lot better. Bye!